the world to your phone. AlJazeera Mobile.
This is Al Jazeera.
Hello and welcome to Al Jazeera live from Doha. I'm Shuli Ghosh. Our top stories: Libya's ambassador to the United States resigns from what he calls a dictatorship regime, but Muammar Gaddafi says he's still in charge. Libyan fighter jets target army ammunition depots and command centres to prevent troops from joining the protesters.
And I'm Jamal Al-Shayal live on the Egyptian-Libyan border where thousands are fleeing the violence.
And Divi Gopalan in Kuala Lumpur. At least 65 people are dead and more than 100 trapped after an earthquake in New Zealand's second largest city. Hello, welcome to our ongoing coverage of events in Libya. Let's give you a recap of the latest developments. Libya's ambassador to the United States has resigned. Turkey has sent 2 Sea Cat rescue ships to evacuate its citizens from Libya. So far, one has been refused entry at Tripoli. The other one is heading towards Benghazi. The United Nations human rights chief has raised the possibility of crimes against humanity in Libya. The Egyptian army has beefed up its military presence on the border with Libya. And the Arab League is also expected to hold an emergency meeting on Tuesday to discuss the situation in the troubled country. Well, Al Jazeera has more information on the bombardment of the capital by military jets on Monday night. Our sources say the bombing was focused on army ammunition depots near Tripoli. Jets also targeted command centres. Now, it seems it was doing that to stop any troops from joining the protesters or to stop protesters from getting hold of weapons. Witnesses are also saying that helicopter gunships were used to fire on the streets in order to scare demonstrators away. Well, Egypt's military government says it's reinforced its border with Libya. It also says it will open a crossing on the coastal border to enable the sick and the injured to leave Libya. Jamal El-Shail joins us live from Saloum in Egypt, which is near that Libyan border. Jamal, just give us a description of the scenes there.
Well, surely busload after busload of Egyptians fleeing Libya. A lot of these buses are provided by the Egyptian military, who say they are sparing no effort to evacuate their citizens. There are up to 1 million Egyptians who work or live in Libya, and many of those have been fleeing the violence. And speaking to some of them, there are really harrowing accounts that we're hearing, obviously difficult to verify because we ourselves have been prevented from entering, and there has been a strict crackdown by the Libyan regime on media personnel there. But the words that are coming out of these people, the stories that are telling, they are of African mercenaries killing randomly. They are tales of helicopter gunships firing indiscriminately, and it is generally a horrific picture that they are painting, surely.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about some of the scenes that they were seeing inside Libya. Clearly, they do not feel that it's a safe place to stay.
Not at all. One of the Egyptian workers I was speaking to, he told me that in Libya, he lived in a compound which was filled with expatriates, young expatriate Egyptian men, and just the day before yesterday, he claims they were attacked by African mercenaries hired by the regime, as he says. He says that the Libyan regime has been targeting Egyptians living inside Libya because they believe they are trying to spur on or allow the revolution which took place in Egypt to overspill. Obviously, the situation in Libya is a lot more complex than that. The Libyan people themselves, as many are hearing, are the ones behind this uprising and are the ones who are demanding their freedom, or at least those who are participating in the protest. The people here, however, tell me that up until an area called Jdabia, which is roughly 900 kilometers from Tripoli, east of Tripoli, all that area from Jdabia up until and including the Libyan-Egyptian border, it is now in control of the opposition, the pro-democracy or the anti-Gaddafi groups, as you would like to call them. And this seems to be something that is spurring on the people of Libya, because they see that they have been able to win over many of the military and many of the tribes that once used to stand in line with Gaddafi. And they say because they have managed to secure large parts of eastern Libya, there is real hope for that swathe of opposition against Gaddafi to spread across and into the western parts of the country, truly.
Yeah, it's quite a noisy scene going on behind you there, Jamal. We've just seen a truck go past with many sort of bags and things on the ceiling of it, on the roof of the car. What are people managing to take with them?
Well, really, surely anything I've seen, from washing machines to blankets to fans to whatever they could. Obviously, a lot of these people tell me that they were stranded essentially for at least 24 hours, because when things really began to intensify roughly 48 hours ago, that's when the alarm bells began to ring and they wanted to leave. Obviously, the Egyptian Foreign Office itself isn't in the greatest situation following the uprising here in Egypt, and therefore the reaction, according to the people here, wasn't as swift, and understandably so. However, since then, the Egyptian military has provided buses, has given a hotline number for those inside Libya who wish to seek some sort of refuge. But obviously, you're talking about people who have left their homes in Egypt to go and work in Libya in order to raise money, in order to open up homes here and support their family. And a lot of them are very, aside from the fact that they're distraught by the horrific images they're seeing, they're distraught by the simple fact that they've been forced to leave behind many of their valuables, many of what they've been building over the past few years in order to sustain themselves and their families. So it really is a desperate situation of thousands fleeing and pouring back into the country.
And just tell us a bit more about the kind of controls at the border there, Jamal. You were saying earlier that the Libyan side of that border seems to be in the hands of anti-Gaddafi men. What more can you tell us about that?
Indeed. In fact, several of them have actually crossed over into this side with some sort of permission from the Egyptian authorities here to offer to escort any medical convoys. Several have already gone in and several more are coming, Egyptian doctors volunteering to help. So those controlling the Libyan side are anti-Gaddafi groups, if you will, and they are trying to facilitate any entry of media personnel, medical convoys. And just a word on those medical convoys, I'm told that type A and type B blood is severely restricted and at a low in Benghazi and eastern Libya. And there's been a huge